And good morning. Welcome to the DFS Minute. I'm your host, Michael Rathburn, aka Rath. Today is Friday, April 24th, 2015. Going to hit you up with a lot of good stuff today, this morning, and a lot of industry news today for sure. Talk about what happened last night, especially for one of our own here at RotoCurve. Go over a little bit for today and then talk about some of the stuff that I got going on. May or may not have a DFS minute tonight. If we do, it's probably going to be earlier than the normal 6:30. I typically like to wait till all the lineups are announced, but I have some things I have to take care of. So if we do a DFS minute tonight, it's probably going to come out early, and so we may not have the full load of lineups, but we'll at least try to give you something for tonight, as Friday night is a pretty big night in the industry. Talking about last night, during the day, and it's something that I touched upon yesterday on the DFS Minute in the morning show, is that, be very aware of lineups yesterday and what impact that means on your DFS lineups yourself. We had a lot of guys that didn't play, and that's to be expected in day games. You got your Thursday day games, Saturday afternoon games, and then Sunday afternoon. If guys are a little bit banged up and they played the night before, a lot of times that manager is going to rest them the day after, especially if they're going against an ace pitcher, or if they're a left-hander and the left-hander's on the mound, they're going to sit that guy. So just be aware. Not that you would ever take a left-handed hitter against a left-handed pitcher anyway. That's rule number one in daily fantasy baseball. You don't do that. But what it means is that the context of the batting lineup would change and the batting order would change. So you just need to be aware of that. The biggest impact that I saw yesterday, and I put it out there, was when the Phillies lineup was announced and there was no Chase Utley, there was no Carlos Ruiz, there was no Ryan Howard. The lineup is weak to begin with. Now all of a sudden you remove all three of those bats, the lineup was pretty much dead. What that told me was all of a sudden now David Phelps, who's a guy that I would never consider, now all of a sudden became viable in a tournament. So we did put that out there. If you were in our chat room before the games went off, we did recommend David Phelps, and I did put it out on Twitter. So it's not I told you so. It's more of like we told you what could happen on Thursday day games, and something broke where it all of a sudden made a guy that you would never consider, because David Phelps is by no means a guy that I would ever trust, but especially on a site like FanDuel or even DraftKings where you got the floor. Look, man, if he goes 6 innings and he's going to get a win, that's 10 right there. If he gets 4 strikeouts, that's 14, and he gives up 2 earned runs, that's 12. That's what you need to win your double ups and your heads ups. But you're paying a fraction of the cost of what you normally would pay for those points. You might usually for 12 points, you might pay $8-9 grand to get 12 points on FanDuel in your 50-50s and heads ups. You're getting it at $4,000 or $5,000, whatever the price tag was yesterday. I know it was extremely cheap. It was insanely cheap. Whether it was in the 6K range, I don't exactly remember. All I know is that it was super cheap, and it became an option where David Phelps actually became a play. So just something that you want to be aware of every now and then. Things like that are going to break and they're going to happen. The Pirates lineup was pretty weak yesterday. That was another situation. Guys like Cargo sat. Just across the board, there were a lot of guys that sat yesterday. Hanley Ramirez was another one. Christian Yelich, I believe, was another one. So, just be aware that that does open up opportunities, and you need to know how to move and how to adjust. Benny last night, Benny Ricciardi, co-host on the Curve, had a nice little night. And I don't know what he did in other contests, but he did hit me up late, and he said, hey, just check this out. I'm looking pretty good in DraftKings qualifier. They had made their major announcement on their baseball final, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But Benny did take down and get a ticket into the qualifier tonight, so he's one of, I believe, 60 guys at $1,000 entry. But the key with Benny is, look, it's not like that's not a huge win. We're not like saying that he's won $1 million or anything like that. It's what he did in that contest that was really cool, and he showed me, and I picked up on it right away, and I really like it, and I'm hoping that he touches on it today. I'll just give you a little bit of a sneak preview or a touch on it if he doesn't talk about it today. But really what he did is he faded Chris Sale. He did not take Chris Sale in the contest last night. His theory was if Chris Sale goes off and everybody has him, there's no edge. But if Chris Sale blows up and I've got two guys that are not that do, I'm going to be ahead of the curve. He was smart in doing that because if you look at Sale's matchup, while he was the best play on the board on paper, here's the thing. The Kansas City Royals don't strike out very much, and they're hitting hot right now. Now, I know a lot of their bats are from the left-hand side, like Gordon, Hosmer, Moustakas, but they do have some other bats from the right-hand side. In the way that they play, it probably means that you really don't want to go against the Royals at this point with any pitcher, especially with what Sale ended up doing last night. So it was a smart move by Benny to not go on Sale. He went with Drew Hutchinson, Clay Buchholz, both guys that were mid-tier price but do have upside, and they came through in a big way. A couple of his bats hit, but it was just really cool to see that Benny hit it. But more importantly, it was like the strategy that went behind why he did that and how he was able to beat a lot of guys in that contest last night that had multiple entries, and he only had one. So obviously we're going to wish Benny luck tonight. Hopefully he can win that ticket to the DraftKings live final, and we're going to segue into that. DraftKings did announce their live final in Vegas. It's going to be a 4-day event, August 12th to the 15th. $1 million first prize, $3 million prize pool, 60 seats. So you're pretty much looking at, they're going to be running about 4 to 5 qualifiers almost every single week. And some of those are going to be big. You know, they're going to be 1K, 5K, but you can qualify into those. They have some $3 qualifiers today. They have some there's a 5,300 one out there, but there's 3, there's 27, there's 33. You know, there's all different price points. So even though some of these, the main qualifiers are large entry, the satellites to get in aren't that bad. You know, there's smaller fields. I mean, yeah, he's still going to beat out, you know, 400 people at $3, but still, you know, the fact that you're then going to get into only 60 seats is really nice. So I really like how they're doing it. Obviously, they're going to run some at 27, I'm sure, and maybe they may even dip down and try to run a 10 or a 5. But just be aware that those are live in the lobby. They started running qualifiers as of like immediately after the announcement came out, and people jumped on it. So good stuff there. The other big DraftKings announcement, and we don't have 100% details on it yet, but people had noticed that in the lobby yesterday under the sports filter, the drop-down box, it said NAS. And people were joking, maybe it's NASA, maybe it's NAS. It's not NASA and it's not NAS, so it's NASCAR. And that's huge because I've been talking about NASCAR for almost a year on radio, on podcast, and saying that a site needs to find a way. We know DraftKings doesn't hesitate to roll out new sports and take chances. So it's really cool that DraftKings is going to roll out NASCAR. They did put up an information help page where it talked about what the scoring is, and it's 5 drivers, $50,000 salary cap. The one thing that we don't know yet is how the contest is going to be constructed so that it doesn't violate the UIGEA, which is the gaming law that allows daily carve-out for daily fantasy sports to be played for cash in most states. So there's speculation. Are they going to run a 2-week event, or are they going to run Saturday, Sunday event? My guess is, and I'm only guessing, personally me, you know, I have talked about the 2-weeker, but I've kind of backed off that yesterday. I'm thinking it's more of you pick one driver from the Saturday pool, and then you have some guys on Sunday. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe they roll these contests out for Sunday only or whatever the races are, but which we know is definitely going to be sketchy. But I do know their legal team has been looking into NASCAR for quite some time. That was something that was told to me by a few individuals a while back, is that it's something that we were really looking into and trying to figure out a way to get this done. The other interesting thing about NASCAR is DraftKings has recently hired this PR girl, marketing communication director from NASCAR. She did work at NASCAR. Now she's working at DraftKings. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think bringing her on, developing a daily fantasy game for NASCAR, I think that there would possibly be something going on there. We know that DraftKings does have partnerships with other sports leagues and organizations. So Don't know if anything's going on there yet, but you got to think that the wheels are in motion for DraftKings to possibly, have some sort of working agreement with NASCAR. I would imagine that's going to be part of why they're doing the rollout now. So definitely keep an eye on that. Moving over to FanDuel, a couple things. One thing I did forget to mention about the other day was the announcement that FanDuel has about 15 teams in place in the NFL with agreements. So they've already locked up these marketing agreements with teams. Now, it looks like most of it's just branding, whether it's logos, banners, advertisements, things like that. But in Washington, there is going to be a FanDuel lounge, which is similar to what we have in Orlando. So FanDuel is laying the groundwork to potentially get in bed with the NFL. Now, the NFL has come out and said pretty much that they don't want to get in bed with one company, but we all know that can change at any given moment. DraftKings does have some deals in place. I believe they have the Patriots, the Steelers, and the Broncos. So it sounds like 18 out of the 32 teams in the NFL. And I would imagine more of these deals are going to come and get locked up. The ironic thing about the NFL and DFS is I actually did have somebody here locally tell me that works high up in a sports organization. They told me that they would be shocked if the Panthers ever did a deal with a DFS company. And my response to that was money talks. So if somebody's bringing money to the table and most of the league is doing these deals, you got to think that the Panthers are going to maybe, back off of their stance, whatever it is, and probably do a deal. I'd be shocked if all 32 NFL teams don't have a deal in place before September. The money's out there. You might as well take it. And it's going to be great for the industry. The other thing on on FanDuel, is that they're running this Floyd Mayweather experience contest for $2. And I think it's great. I mean, I think it's awesome. Word came out that the FanDuel logo is going to be on Mayweather's trunks. Immediate speculation is DraftKings contacting Pacquiao and getting their logo on his trunk. So who knows what's going to happen? These two companies don't like each other. Individuals at these companies don't like each other. So, look, they're in a dogfight. It's all about business. It's all about winning. And so they really shouldn't like each other at this point. They're really competitors. And I actually like the rivalry. I think it's fun. I think it's great. Sometimes people have crossed the line. But for the most part, I think it's been pretty good, and competition brings out the best in people. I mentioned it in an article before with I believe it was with Forbes. Is it's almost like WWF/WWE and WCW back in the Monday Night Wars, where they were going at each other, neck and neck and fighting for position, etc. And so I think these DFS wars with the top two, I think it's great. And who knows what's going to happen when Yahoo and PokerStars and maybe even somebody else jump into the mix, hopefully by the NFL. So good news for the industry on all fronts. Talking about tonight a little bit, let's go over price adjustments. Not a ton there. I did notice that Corey Kluber's price, he's not going today, but Corey Kluber's price did drop. He's down. Just be aware of where he's at. And the Padres have dropped on FanDuel. It looks like Upton, Kemp, Middlebrooks, and Norris, all salaries have come down. We talked about when they get out of cores, take a look at pricing. If pricing doesn't drop, then you probably want to stay away. But the pricing has come down on some of these Padres. So that's something very interesting that you want to watch, because, did FanDuel's algorithm adjust the Padre prices based on cores? And are they now adjusting based on them not being in cores? So definitely something you want to keep an eye on, something that would be a new wrinkle for that FanDuel salary algorithm. On the DraftKings side, it looks like, Shane Green has been bumped up quite a bit. Obviously, he was super cheap over there, and he was being heavily used, and he's produced pretty well so far. But I still think he's pretty affordable at where he's at. So I think he's still in play. The Giants, the Cardinals, and the Mets look like they've had a salary bump today. And the Padres and the Angels look like they've come down in price. So again, they've adjusted the Padre prices. So definitely, take that into consideration. Pitchers on DraftKings today, or just across the, just quickly, guys that stood out for me: Shane Green, Kazmir, Garrett Cole, Alex Wood, Greinke, and Felix. Obviously top shelf guy is, Greinke. And Felix, Greinke's on the road, but it is the Padres. But this is a different Padres lineup now. it's righty-righty, so you do give the edge to Greinke. Now, there's an interesting stat that came out about Greinke that I saw. He's 20-1 against the NL West with like a 1.9 ERA since he came to the Dodgers. So he's been unhittable, untouchable. He's been absolutely phenomenal, and I do think he's in play today. So Greinke is a guy that you can definitely look at. Felix would be the top guy. He's the highest price guy, but he's at home and he gets a week to win. So you definitely got to try to figure out a way to get Felix in your lineup. The good thing is when you have Felix going on a full slate of games, that means you're going to have a lot of hitting options, hopefully with value, and that you can make a lineup with Felix work and not feel like you're sacrificing a whole lot. So and some of those other pitchers that I mentioned, I would feel completely comfortable rolling those guys out in 50-50s and heads-ups. Green, I'm not so sure about. Probably would be more of a tournament guy for me or second pitcher still. But, you know, Kazmir, Cole, Wood, all guys with strikeout potential, ability to go 7+ innings and get wins. So that's really what we look for, especially on FanDuel. 7 innings, 7 Ks, 2 earned runs or less, and give me a shot at a win. I want a 55-60% shot at a win. Hopefully it gets me to 12. Maybe I get to 14, 16, but making sure that the blow-up factor is minimized as well. And that's segueing into an article that I'm going to have coming out today on RotoWire. I do write for RotoWire. I have a weekly article that goes up usually Friday mornings or Friday afternoons. First 2 articles talked about basic strategy on DraftKings and FanDuel, especially for beginner players, so definitely want to check that out. But today is going to delve into how to select your starting pitchers on FanDuel. That's the most important thing on FanDuel that you need to look at, is how to get your starting pitcher. And I break down the top 20 guys that you can look at based on last year, and then the scenarios in which you want to use those pitchers. And then I also give you the second tier of guys. So there's a top 20, and then there's like a top 40, but 21 through 40. I give you those names that I feel like are candidates to break through and possibly jump into that top 20 guys, top 20 pitchers that you definitely want to look at, and what scenarios you want to use those pitchers under. And if you do that, you should put yourself in a good position. Don't get cute with starting pitcher. I do equate some of this to poker. And if you read books in poker, or you played poker, you played Hold'em, it talked about playing top 10 hands and playing tight. That's what you want to do as a beginning player for your starting pitcher, for your heads-ups and 50-50s. Don't get cute, play tight. Look at the top guys. If there's 3 top guys for the day, 2 of them are on the road, and 1 of them is at home, probably want to lead towards the home. Who's the highest favorite out of the top 3? Who's got the best matchup? Who's got the lowest run total? Who's in the pitcher park? Don't blindly take these pitchers. Look at who's the best one and narrow it down. And then, most importantly, take a look at the opposing lineup. Are there hitters that are out? Look what happened with Johnny Cueto the other day going against the Brewers. No Lucroy, no Gannett, no Carlos Gomez. The Brewers are the worst hitting team in baseball right now, and Cueto was priced number 3. You had Kershaw, you had David Price, and you had Cueto. Cueto was our top play. We went with Cueto, and it paid off well. So those are the things that you want to look at. Look at the top 3 or 4 guys for the day. Who's got the best matchup based on everything that we talked about, and that's how you're going to roll with your pitcher, especially on FanDuel. So make sure you check that article out on RotoWire. I'll put it out on Twitter. I'll put the links out. We got Benny and Josh coming up today, 12 noon to 1 Eastern, as always, with the curve on Friday. They're going to hit you up with the players that they like for the day, the value plays, the top plays, but then most importantly, they're going to hit you with the strategy sessions today. And I know they got some good things in store, so we're looking forward to it. So that's it for today. We're going to wrap it up. May or may not see us later on today. Not sure yet. If we do hit you with a video, it's going to be early. So just be aware, and we'll put it out there for you. Hopefully you can win some money tonight. Big DraftKings qualifier tonight. This is when everything gets started for DFS. We start having these $1 million first prize qualifiers. Everything gets excited. Remember, you also got the qualifier over on Fantasy Aces. $250K final out in LA. Ironically, this actually the dates for the Aces final and the DraftKings final are going to be the same. So it's just not something that you can really avoid. There's limited dates in August. You've got to get these tournaments in before NFL. You've got to have a window where you can run all these qualifiers. So really and truly, you're looking at like a 2 or 3 week window in the month of August to where these companies have the ability to run a live final. So hopefully FanDuel will come in either the 1st or 3rd week, probably going to be the 1st week in August when they make their announcement. But So that's what we got going on there. Just be aware of that. But Aces qualifier tonight, DraftKings qualifier tonight, Mayweather, FanDuel, and then also Playboy. I believe we got a Playboy qualifier tonight and a New York City live final qualifier tonight. A little disappointed in the Playboy. I believe the Playboy, the New York one, it looked like it was a very small field at a high entry buy-in, and again, it was just like 3 guys with 10 entries. So just not something that I'm even going to recommend you playing. So at this point, but anyway, this is Rath signing off for this morning. Want to wish everybody well. Come hit us back at 12 noon Eastern for the curve. And like we always say here at Roto Curve, stay classy, DFS.